the COVID-19 pandemic, and furthermore limitations on public mobility have further crippled their ability to sell goods.
And this problem needs to be solved. Luckily, though, there is a team called Kopernik, which aims to lower poverty by experimenting with potential solutions for common challenges. Now, to find out more about Kopernik, we're now connected with Eva Wojkowska, Kopernik's co-founder and COO. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us.
pleasure.
So tell us about Kopernik. You're offering solutions to lower poverty in remote areas, and you're doing this with a three-pronged approach with experimentation, last-mile consulting, and technology distribution. Could you give us an overview as to what Kopernik is all about?
Right. So we're primarily a research and development lab for poverty solutions.
Okay.
So that means that we test a whole range of different solutions to the problems that create poverty, and these are very clearly linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. So everything we do is trying to find effective solutions to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And our lean experimentation approach is really about testing solutions at a small scale, effective or not, before making larger investments, we make sure that they're first working. And we also work with a lot of different partners, government, the private sector, community groups, to get the effective solutions out.
Yeah, this is that's actually really a smart approach, because that way you're not wasting a lot of resources and time and money as well, and you figure out the best way to tackle a problem instead of just going at it right away.
Exactly. And hi, Eva, this is Rasha from the studio. Actually, one of my friends works at Kopernik. Her name is Shanina Bustami, and I know that she's located in Bali. Can you tell us a bit more on where Kopernik are located aside from Bali?
So we're headquartered in Bali, but we work all over Indonesia. So we've worked all the way from Aceh to Papua. Initially, the majority of our work, and until now, focuses on Eastern Indonesia, as that is the poorest area of the country. So we have a lot of initiatives in NTT, East Nusa Tenggara, in Papua, but we've worked all over the country.
Eva, obviously what you guys are doing is for the betterment, especially for those in the rural areas, but not everyone is accepting to change, especially if you need to implement something different or something that is out of their realm or something that they're not completely used to. Have you ever faced any of these challenges looking at the work that you've done? Has there been any kind of communities that have kind of rejected any sort of change?
It's a really good question, and our approach is very much to work with the local communities, and we partner with local partners, and these are usually people or organizations that are known and trusted by that community. Because you're absolutely right, just coming in as a foreigner, I mean, not just me as a non-Indonesian, but even Indonesians from other parts of the country are not necessarily going to be accepted. So it's part of our approach to work with a trusted partner and be invited in to help identify problems, and then to design those solutions together with the community and with the local partners that we're working with.
Good stuff.
Right. Your business is anchored on becoming this sort of research and development lab to find solutions before big parties coming in with bigger investments. Can you tell us what sort of experiments that you have been done in Kopernik?
Yeah, so there are a lot of challenges that are faced by communities living in remote areas, and these range from access to water and sanitation, access to education, and increasingly with the climate crisis, people are facing more and more problems in producing their food with unpredictable weather patterns. I mean, we're seeing so many more natural disasters occur. So our experiments are about addressing those kinds of problems. So for example, we work with farmers to help them improve their post-harvest process, which we've conducted research on and found that they really struggle with. So we help them to improve the quality of their product and connect them to markets. And I'm just seeing that the footage on screen is showing our work with arak producers in Bali during the pandemic. You'll remember in the very early days of the pandemic, there were massive shortages in hand sanitizer. So we collaborated with the arak community in Bali to figure out, to experiment, like what can we use that's locally available to produce the alcohol that's required to create hand sanitizer that was so desperately needed. So we experimented together with the communities there and ended up producing hand sanitizer, which not only met this huge need of the medical community, but then it also provided livelihoods or an increased income to arak farmers when they were so affected during the pandemic.
That is
but we
actually
work
genius.
in many different sectors.
It's right there staring in front of us, right? The solution.
Yes.
So, you did bring up the pandemic. So how has the pandemic affected poverty in those regions that had already been suffering from poverty? And in turn, how has that affected your work in these experiments that you're continuing to collect data?
Yeah, so the pandemic has touched all of us in many different ways. We conducted research in Bali specifically because that's where we're based, and we saw that there were massive economic impacts for the Balinese. We know that the tourism sector has been hit so hard, and tourism has been such a mainstay of Bali. So our data showed that 81% of people were economically impacted, with 44% of those losing their jobs, either temporarily or permanently. But we've also seen some really interesting and positive change. We've seen people going back to agriculture. In Indonesia, there is a huge reduction in the number of farmers that are choosing. There's a reduction in the number of people that are choosing farming as an occupation, and that's a problem for Indonesia. But with the pandemic, we are seeing people return to farming and young people as a potential career option, which is interesting. We've also seen in our work with women entrepreneurs who, when stores closed down, took their businesses online, and over the last year we've saw that they increased their profits by 37%, even during a pandemic situation.
Wow, that's amazing. Actually, that leads to my next questions as well. In your website, we see that you also try to integrate tech to the community. Can you share us a bit more on what sort of program involved in that?
Yeah, so we started off, we're 10 years old. Initially, we started off as a technology distribution organization, and we're really excited about new technologies that were coming on the market at that time. And these were things like solar lights and water filters that could provide electricity for people who didn't have who weren't connected to the grid, and clean water for people that didn't have safe drinking water. So over the years, we've distributed more than 350,000 units of technologies like these, and also through that program created income earning opportunities for women entrepreneurs. But we continue to distribute those technologies, but then technology plays a big part in our experiments. So when we work with farmers to improve their post-harvest process, we've introduced a solar dryer so that farmers are able to dry their cacao or coffee beans or cloves or cashews without the crop being spoiled by weather or other contaminants. So yeah, technology is a very big part of our work, but it's not technology like high-end technology.
Right.
It's simple, appropriate technology.
Yeah, and I
Right,
think
but to the
considering
point, I believe.
yeah, considering all the knowledge and access
Yeah.
that we have these days, it's important for us to share it with those that don't quite have the access to it as well.
Yeah.
Now, another important factor usually for organizations like yours is government support. How have you worked with the government so far? Has there been any collaborations? And if so, how has that turned out?
We work with the government across many different levels. We coordinate at the national level with different ministries. Like, for example, on our COVID response, we've been supporting government policies. We've also done a lot of work around the plastic pollution crisis.
Great.
So we have been working closely in supporting the implementation of government regulations on reducing the usage of certain single-use plastic items, and we released a film this year, Pull Out Plastic, to contribute to addressing the issue of single-use plastic pollution. And at the local level, we work with the relevant dinas. So we'll work with the agriculture department when we're working with different farmers groups. Wherever we work, we have typically a good working relationship with the different government agencies.
That is great stuff, Effa, and you're doing so much good work, so we wish nothing but the best for you and Kopernik as well. If you guys want to know more, you guys can check out the website kopernik.info, or if you want to just go on Instagram, they're in there as well, at kopernik.info, same ID, same handle. Effa, thank you so much for your time. We do wish you nothing but the best. Please do stay healthy, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care.
Bye,
Thank you
Eva.
so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Effa Wojkowska, the founder and COO of Kopernik. And yeah, that is so great. Well, so much work that they're doing out there for those in need, especially
Yes.
in this time while we're in the middle of a pandemic. So we
Yes,
hope-
and I especially really like their approach of really like going into the community, last mile community,
Yeah.
finding out what actually is the problem,
Sure.